Hello? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, say please say I in the comments, in the chat. If you can hear me, say I. This is Thank you to everybody who is joining this live. Still trying to test if our live is on. Let me check on this phone. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I think it's okay. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I think it's okay. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I think it's okay. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I think it's okay. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I think everything should be fine now. But we need to test the stream so that we'll be sure if everything is all right from that end. So, welcome to everybody who is joining. Thank you very much for joining this live stream. So, welcome to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're joining from. Welcome. If you can hear me and the audio is good, please say yes. Just type yes in the chat. Type yes in the chat so that we'll be able to move on. So if the audio is good, because I'm looking at it that probably this audio is not too good, or it's skipping or echoing. So if the audio is good, just type yes. Okay, thank you very much to K Slim. Thank you to Life of Adebanjo. Thank you very much. And I think the camera is also fine. So there are some questions that people have left on the on a lot of our videos. So this is the time I take to answer those questions. So if you also have your question, you can leave it in the chat. I will be here to respond to those questions that you have. Whether you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, you're on Instagram, anywhere you are. So I'll be here to respond to you. So let me start with the first question. So somebody is asking, can gloss paint be used on a wooden door? The answer is yes, but there are some things you need to do first. The first thing you need to do is to sand the surface. That is, you find a sandpaper, whether it is the manual sandpaper or the manual sandpaper or the electric one. You sandpaper the door very well, and then you prime it. Yes, there are wood primer that you can use on wood. So after priming it properly, then you can now paint it with gloss. But the other thing you also need to take note is make sure the wood is not wet, because if you paint on wet surface, whether it is wood or even wall, it's going to have negative effect on that paint. That's why you see that the paint will be peeling later on. So sandpaper it, prime it with a primer, and then you paint it. It will come out very, very nice. It's one of the best way to paint your wooden door. Somebody is asking, somebody is asking, is primer also a filler? No, primer is not a filler. There's something we call filler or putty. So that one is not a primer. So putty or filler is the one you use to block holes, maybe before you start painting, especially for places people are already living, or even for fresh wall in some cases. Why? Because you can have some holes on the wall, so that's where you use filler. But primer is what you use to make sure your paints bond very well to the wall and it's not peeling at the end of the day. So that is what you use primer for. So filler is to fill holes. Primer is to make sure your paints bond very well. You paint primer, but you use filler in certain places you have holes. So that's the difference between the two. Don't mix them up. So if you have any question, again, don't forget, just leave it in the chat. Thank you to everybody who is joining. Thank you to everybody who is joining. Thank you to King and Queen Fabric. Thank you to Infinity, I think. So let's move on to the next question. So somebody is asking, must POP TV stand be white? The answer is no. So the rule of thumb is what the general rule is, if you want to paint, for most people, their TV space is their media wall. So it's the media wall, and in some cases they also use it as the accent wall. What do I mean by accent wall? Accent wall is a wall that is different in terms of decoration or coloring or painting style from everywhere else, so that that space is unique and it draws attention to whoever it is that come in. They know that, oh, you want them to pay attention to that particular place. So you don't have to just paint it white. There are a lot of amazing colors you can paint it. You can paint it with off-white, cream, gray, even brown. So depending on the color choice you use in the rest of the room, that should determine the color you use for your TV. So that's the right answer there. Satin ungraffited. Somebody is asking, is satin good on graffites paints outside? That is, you use graffites outside and then you paint satin on it. The answer is no. There are two reasons why. Number one is that satin is a paint that highlights texture. That is, it shows the imperfection on any wall. And since graffites is a textured wall, satin will show the texture more, which in some cases we might not like. But the main reason that you don't want to put satin on graffites, especially on the outside wall, is that satin usually fade faster. That is, the shininess of satin usually fade faster on the outside. But if you're Dangote, you can use satin on the outside. You don't need to care, because maybe every 6 months or every 1 year you have to repaint that place. But instead of using satin, go for matte paints, or you use matte paints, or you use weather mask paint. Those are the best paint to paint any textured wall, whether it is test coat, whether it's graffites, whether it's Tyrolean. So go for matte or weather mask paints. If you have any question, don't forget to leave it in the chat. Somebody is asking, can white paint be used as a primer? The answer is no. You can use white paint as an undercoat, but not as a primer. So what's the difference? So for primer, there are a lot of benefits of primer itself. Primer will make your paints bond properly to the wall. The other thing is that primer will also block some porous wall. That is, all those pores on your wall, primer will block it. The other advantage of using a primer is that some primer has stain blocking characteristics. What do I mean? Probably somebody wrote something on that wall, or there are a lot of stains on the wall. Maybe the place got burnt. Primer will help you blind that place so that the stain on the wall will not come out and show on your top coat. That is the paint you later end up painting that place. So, but with any white paint, in most cases, it might not be able to block that. And the other advantage of primer is it will make your paint bond very well. But emulsion paints or most paints, they don't have that characteristics of making paints to bond properly. So use a primer and then use making paint to bond properly compared to primer. So use a primer instead of spending money on emulsion paints as a primer. Yes, you can use emulsion paint as an undercoat. That's after you've used primer, and then paint whatever it is you want to paint on it. So this question is common. People have been asking me this question. Can someone apply Kosa 2K and Crystal Coat on a new building? And most times I usually tell them no. Yes, you can apply it, but it's more advisable. There are other solutions you can do instead of spending money, because at that stage the block is still barren. Like, you can still see where issue is on the block. Now, what you need to do in those cases is you need to get the engineer that built the house for you. It's still recent. Get the engineer that built the house for you, or get an experienced structural engineer. Let them manually cut the block and manually insert DPC on the block work, that is along the block everywhere. So once they do that, they replaster the place back. You won't have any damp issue there. But if you've already have damp issue on that wall, yes, you can say, okay, maybe you, as long as the block is still strong, you don't even really need any chemical to apply. Just do that DPC, so that in the future, after you've done your plastering, or when you now do your painting, the water will not be able to soak up and then start spoiling your paint. So that's what I advise. But if you have the money, you can still use the chemical. But these chemicals are very, very expensive. You'll be spending, the minimum you can spend is millions. There's no thousand here, millions of naira. So that's why I advise that if you can call the engineer, call the structural engineer for them to check for you, it's better. Is that innocent? Yes, sir. How's it going now? Yes, sir. I'm live currently, so I've not been able to check. Okay. No, we did not discuss anything. She did not see the breakdown I sent to her. There was no damp master there. And if you need damp master, we can still supply her now. It's just 400,000. If you need it, let me know. We did not discuss damp master. She saw the quotation I sent to her now. Yeah, you can tell her I'm live. I'm currently live. That I sent her the breakdown. There was no damp master. But if she need damp master, one bucket is 400,000. So we'll give it to her. We'll send it to her. Yeah. Okay, so thank you to everybody who is joining on Instagram. Thank you to everybody who is joining on Facebook. Thank you to everybody who is joining on YouTube. So let's move on to the next question. Somebody is asking, should you mix satin with water? The answer is yes. Satin is a water-based paint. In fact, it's only yes, satin is an emulsion paint, like when you in general terms. So it's an emulsion paint, that is, it's a water-based paint. So there are emulsion paint that is water-based paint, and then oil-based paint. Satin is a water-based paint, and because it's why they were producing it, they use water. So, and if you want to use it as well, you can add little water, but don't add too much water to it, not to dilute the strength of the satin. So just add a bit, maybe 1 liter to 20 liters, or maximum of 2 liters of water to 20 liters of satin, depending on the type of satin you buy, because there are some products that nowadays that you buy that the satin is already watery. My brother, don't add another water to it. But if you buy a product like Armstrong satin, you can still add water to it. It will still come out very, very well. Yes, you can mix water with satin. It's a water-based paint. The only paints you might not be able to mix water with are oil-based paint, like gloss paint. So don't use don't use water with gloss paint. That is the one they use for iron. Those ones you use a thinner or you use petrol to thin it. So those are the things you use. So somebody is asking. Give me a few seconds. So if you have any question, please leave it in the chat. I'll be here to respond. Somebody says, what's the difference between matte paint and weather mask paint? The two paints are emulsion paints. They are high grade emulsion paints. So matte paint is an emulsion paint because it's made with water. Weather mask is also an emulsion paint. But the only difference is that weather mask is good for a place you did not do screening, and the wall is smooth. I usually tell people, make sure the wall is smooth before you use weather mask. So weather mask will make your wall come out as if you do screening. Not that it will block all the holes or anything. It will make it come out bright and more beautiful compared to when you use matte. So that's the only difference. They have the same durability, that is 5 to 7 years. They have the same spread rates. They have the same, whatever it is, the same coverage. So and they also come in 20 liters as well. So, and different color. So that's the difference between matte and weather mask. In fact, when you see weather mask, you think it's matte, but it's the way. The only difference is it will make the place come out more beautiful compared to where you use matte. If your wall is peeling but your place is not wet, these are the things that can cause it. So if you have a wall, like there's no water there, you cannot see any water, but the paint is peeling. The reason is the reason you are seeing that, one of the reasons you might be seeing that issue is that while they were painting that place, the wall was dusty and they did not dust off the place. Like this, there are a lot of dust on that wall. The painter just puts the paint on the dusty wall like that. It will end up peeling, or the wall was choking. So, and they just put it without using the stabilizer. They just put it and then put the paint on it. So it will end up choking. The other thing is, if the wall was oily, that is, it was greasy, like maybe they painted the place with satin before, they did not just do, they did not sandpaper the surface, or there's oil, even normal oil on the wall. The place was glossy before, they did not do anything, they just put paint on it, or they paint stucco on it, they did not sandpaper it, they just paint it on it like that. Your paint will end up peeling. So those are the reasons you might see that, okay, your wall is peeling, your paint is peeling, even though there's no water there. So you need for you, if you get a painter and then you want to paint your place, try as much as possible to check whether there's no dust or the place is not glossy before they put another paint on it. This is the best paint to paint your room as a student. The best paint is to use is satin paint. So as a student, you don't have money to be painting your house every year, especially if you are somebody that just want to stay in the same place until your final year, maybe 4 years. You need a paint like satin that you just paint once and then you can clean anytime it's dirty. But there are some colors you can use that will not. You also have to be aware of the colors you use so that you will not keep having anxiety in that space, because school stress is enough. You don't want to add your another stress to your space. So some colors, you use some colors that are cool, like green, light green. You can use light blue. You can also use gray, the light gray. You can use white. So those are colors that you can use for your room as a student. Don't go for colors like red, even in some cases yellow. If it is too bright, it might end up causing you psychological problem. So go with colors that are cool compared to colors that are bright. So more of blue, green, even purple is okay. Lilac is okay. So you can use it as a student in your room. Then go for satin paint. So go for satin paint. So if you have any question, please leave it in the chat. We don't have any question on Instagram. If you have any question on YouTube, please leave it in the chat. If you have any question on Facebook, please leave it in the chat. The only problem is I'm not seeing Facebook on this space. And okay, please, if you can still hear me, please say yes. If you can still hear me, say yes. This is a test. Okay, let's go to the next question. Once we get to How can you stop dampness permanently? I've received this question a lot of time, but dampness is a very, very stubborn uh, uh, issue to solve, and it costs money to solve it. So the best way to solve dampness is during the foundation. You need to use DPC and DPM. You need to use DPC and DPM while they are doing your foundation. With this, in most cases, let's say 90% of the time, you won't have water disturbing you. But if they did not put DPC or DPM while they were doing your foundation, there are still some things you can do. The number one thing you need to do is to find the source of the water. If the water, most likely, most house, especially in Nigeria, the dampness is coming from the foundation. So if it is coming from the foundation, get a structural engineer to help you manually install a DPC nylon along your foundation. But if the water is coming from the tiles in your space, that means you have to retile the place. You need to put DPM nylon before they now retire the place back. So that's what you need to do in that case. But if it's just on the block that you're seeing on the block, you need to install DPC, then apply Costa 2K and Crystal Coat on the wall, and then you replaster the place, and then the place will be okay and normal again. I've seen people that have done this, and then the water did not end up affecting them. In some cases, some did not even use Costa 2K and Crystal Coat. They only put the DPC nylon, and then nothing happened again. So those are the things you need, because you need to block the water from the source. Somebody is asking, can you use weather mask paint on the inside of a house? The answer is yes. Weather mask paint, even though it's built for the weather durability and the ruggedity of it, yes, you can still use it for the inside of a house. It will make your house look beautiful. Why? Because it's an emulsion-based paint, and it's like matte. It hides imperfection. That is, if you have some bumpiness on your wall, it will not pronounce it compared to when you use satin. So if you are somebody that you don't want to spend money on screening, weather mask paint comes in very, very handy, because it can hide some minor imperfection on your wall, and it will make the wall still look beautiful even though you did not do screening. Then make sure you choose some beautiful colors. So if you want to select some beautiful colors, you can go to my page. I have a lot of videos on explaining the different colors you can use to paint your house. I'm sensing we've answered some of these questions. If you are somebody that has an open roof on the top, at the top of your house, and then water, you are seeing mold in your room down, this is what you need to do. The first thing you need to do is to treat that open roof first. Apply Costa 2K and Crystal Coat, depending on the type of roof you have. There are some places you use PU, that is polyurethane. You use it for the upper part. There are some places you use Costa 2K and Crystal Coat. You use that, and then you find something to cover that upper floor. So once you do that, then you come down to your room, and then you treat the mold, like you kill the mold. You if the wall is wet, you can replaster the place. That's for extreme cases. Replaster the place. You remove the existing plaster, you replaster the place, or even apply Costa 2K on the wall and then replaster the place. After that, you can now do screening again, do primer, and then you now repaint. So that's what you need to do. So with that, you won't have the water sinking in again, because those things you apply at the top will end up serving as a protective layer to prevent water from soaking into the decking or into the roof to come and disturb you in your own space. There's one important thing you need to take note when you are treating dampness, and that thing is you need to treat the wall properly. You need to treat the places that are affected plus more. Why? For example, let's say the dampness level is at this stage. What you need to do is to add 1 to 2 feet above it. Why? Because dampness usually rise up, like for in most for most especially for rising damp. So if you have rising damp, if the level it is currently is here, you need to treat so, to this particular level. Why? Because once you treat that place, you might want to jump up. So, but the extra 1 feet to 2 feet that you put will make sure you've already treated the place before you even before the thing even comes back to that particular level. So, and most that rising damp usually have some stage that the highest point they will get to. So it's just like putting straw in water. So if there's a particular level that straw that water will get to in that straw, that it will not rise again. So that's the same thing as rising damp. So once you treat it above that highest level, you won't have any issue in most cases again. So that is that for that. So somebody is asking, so does Costa 2K and Crystal Coat work for crack? The answer is yes and no. It depends on the type of crack. So if you have a crack wall, if you have some minor crack on your wall, since you are removing the plaster on that particular wall, Costa 2K can help you. Why? Because the crack might be as a result of the plastering mix that they use while they were doing the plaster. And then once you remove the plaster and you replaster the place again, so you end up solving the problem. But there are some cracks that are structural cracks, like the house did not, maybe in some waterlogged area, the house did not balance where one place has shifted, the other one is still up, so it will shift and then you see crack on the wall. So Costa 2K and Crystal Coat will not help you with that. But if crack is the only, if even though for minor crack, if the crack is just the thing you see on the wall, like that's the only thing. It's not that water is disturbing the place. You might not need Costa 2K and Crystal Coat. All you need is maybe you remove the plaster and then you replaster the place again. That is if you have tried other issues, other solutions, and the issues still persist. That's when you need to replaster the place. But there are some other fillers that you can use to fill all those cracks, and then you won't have that problem again. But if you have used that and it's not still working, just remove the plaster, replaster the place, as long as it's not, you are not seeing water there. But if you see water there, it might be good to just remove the plaster, and then, especially if it is on the ground floor, remove the plaster, apply Costa 2K or Crystal Coat, and then you replaster the place back with a proper cement mix. Between wallpaper and paint, which one should you use in your space? Yes, wallpaper is beautiful, but it's not built for durability. And the other thing that paint has, or the other advantage that paint has over wallpaper, is that paint usually lasts long than wallpaper. And there are some paints that you can even clean any time is dirty. But for wallpaper, even if small scratch just touches like this, that wallpaper is gone already. It has disfigured all the entire space, and you might not even get that same design in the market again. But for paint, you can always get that same color to say you want to retouch. Like, maintenance is very, very easy for paint compared to wallpaper. Yes, wallpaper can be cheap upfront depending on the type of wallpaper you are going for, because there are 3D wallpapers now that are very expensive. But paint has been in existence for a long time. It doesn't go out of style, and easy to maintain. The maintenance is the most important thing. So yes, I'd rather go for paint over wallpaper. But if you still like wallpaper, just select a space like most people do in your room, just one single wall, and then use wallpaper there. But you know that it's not easy to maintain compared to using paints. Somebody is asking, does the color of roof affect the kind of paint for the exterior? Also the window color. So what this person mean? So someone is asking, does the roof color of your house determine the color of should the roof color of your house determine the color you paint your house? The answer is yes. It's just like you are going to a party and then you say, okay, which clothes, like for females now, now, which handbag should I carry with this particular clothes? Why? Because there are some colors that pairs very well with another color. Now, let me tell you, this is the logic we use. in most cases, when people ask me, this is a simple logic. If you have a darker roof, which most roofs are nowadays, the best color combination is to use a lighter color on the body of your house, and then you use a color that goes with that color, with that main color that you used to paint the house for the window design. So what do I mean? Let's say you have a black roof, so you can go for a lighter color, like dove gray for the main body of your house, and then you use white for the window, or you use dark gray for the window. Why? Because the roof already creates the black roof and the dove gray, that is the light gray body that you paint the house, already creates a contrast. Now you also need a color that also creates a contrast between the body of the house and the window, so that the window will also come out and it will be distinct. So those are the color combination you can use. So if you have a lighter roof, now let's say it's lemon green, you can go for a deeper color for the body of the house. Or you go for, let's say you have light green, you can paint the main body of the house with leaf green. There's a color we call leaf green, the color of the leaf. So you can paint it with leaf green, and then you paint the window design with off-white or any other color that goes very well with the body of the house. So that's how we select color for a house, depending on the roof. Yes, but in most cases, most people don't pay attention to this, but it's also very important. So thank you to Mr. Ajibola for that question. I think that's the question from Instagram. So if you have any question, you can drop it in the chat. If you have any question, you can drop it in the chat. So okay, thank you to Anon on YouTube. Anon says hello to Anon. Thank you very much. So if you want to message me, 0904357589, that's a number to message on WhatsApp. I'll be there to respond to you, but not at this time. So, but leave a message. I'll be there to respond to you after the live call. 0904357589. So if you have any question, please leave it in the chat. Somebody is asking, can satin paint be used for lime wash? I think that's the question. Can satin paint be used for lime wash? Lime wash is a design that people use nowadays. They use, there's a way they do it that you use a lighter color and a deeper color so that it forms a pattern on your wall. Now, the answer is no. Don't use satin paint, because satin is a shining paint, and lime wash require a chalky paint like emulsion, matte, or weather matte. So these three paints, emulsion, weather matte, or matte, are the paints you can use for lime wash that will make it work. So don't use gloss, don't use satin. Any paint that's shining will not work for lime wash. So use emulsion, matte, or weather matte. That's the paint. Those are the paints you can use for lime wash that will make it work. Somebody is asking, can I mix Costa 2K with paints? The answer is no. There's a way you use Costa 2K, because Costa 2K is meant to serve as a layer, like it's meant to serve like as a membrane, like a nylon, not really a nylon, like a membrane that protects your wall. This is your wall, this is your block, this is the paint you want to put on it. Costa 2K is meant to serve in between, like a protective layer, like a defender. So you will not mix your defender with your paint. It's not good. So you apply the Costa 2K on the block itself. So once you apply it, it will keep fighting the block, like the water that wants to come from the block. it will not let it come and affect your paints on the wall. So that is how to use Costa 2K. No, you don't mix it with paint. If you mix it with paint, it's just like mixing cement with paint. You will not get any color now. Even though you get color, it will not really work. So apply, remove your plaster, apply Costa 2K, replaster the place again, rescreed the place again, and then you repaint. So that's what you do. So, but don't use Costa 2K alone. Try to combine it with crystal coat. It will come out. It will make it more solid. So somebody is asking, can primer prevent dampness? The answer is no. Primer is just to make your paint stick very well to the wall, and in some cases block stain on your wall. But primer is not a damp-proof material. It does not contain the material that's required for damp-proofing your wall. So instead of that, try to use damp-proof material like Crystal Coat, Costa 2K, Damp Master on your wall. Don't just use a primer. Primer will not stop water. Primer has a different purpose. Somebody is asking, can I use gloss paint on my room wall? The answer is yes, but you have to be very careful. There are some things you see after you paint. If you paint your wall with gloss paint, number one is that you need to know that gloss paint is a shiny paint, and it shines more than even satin paint. So if you are somebody that, okay, you are okay with that, fine, you can go with that. So the other thing is that for gloss paints, like satin paints, it also shows some defects on your wall. So like if you have some bumpiness on your wall, gloss paint will even, like, it will show it more than what you see in satin. We usually say that satin is olofofo. Gloss even is on a higher grade of olofofo level. Like, it will shout, it will tell people that, okay, there's imperfection here, come and look at it. So those are some things you should consider. It shines, the shininess is more, and it will also show imperfection more than satin. So instead of painting your wall with gloss paint, go with satin. If you need something you can clean, or go with matte or ordinary emulsion paints. Those are better. So use gloss for your door, for your window, burglary, for wooden door, anyone. So okay, this one is, should you tile the floor of your house first, or should you do the screening or painting of your house first? Which one should you do first? The answer is screed first before you do tiling. And the basic reason is that once you do your tiling, you don't want dust or stain of screeding to fall on it. There are some tiles that are very, very expensive. Some people even go to the extent of importing tiles from outside, and then you as a screeder, or you as the house owner, you now got a painter or a screeder, and then they now pour something on it. There are some screening material that if they fall on your tiles, you have to be scraping it off. It will not remove very well. And if you decide to apply chemical on them, you might realize that the tiles now keeps changing color. So the best thing is to say, okay, you do your screening first before you do your tiling. But if you've done that, maybe you've done your tiling before, now you want to do your screening, what you need to do in that case is to make sure they put nylon everywhere, so that when, even though that thing falls, it will fall on the nylon. But it's better, if you've not done your tiling, do your screening first, and then let them do the tiling. Somebody is asking, can you apply primer like 6 months before you paint? That is, you've applied the primer on your wall 6 months ago. Now you want to paint. So it's very risky. Why? Because dust and dirt will have settled on that primer, and it might have reduced the strength of that particular primer. So what you need to do is to apply another coat of primer on that wall, and then you now repaint the wall. So that is the best thing to do. Like you need to sandpaper the surface first, sandpaper the surface to remove every dust on it, and then you reprime the place, and then you now repaint with whatever choice of paint you choose. So somebody is saying, I screeded my wall 5 months ago. Now it's changing color. What should I do? So in this particular case, you need to check for dampness. You see, whatever it is that is in your house, once it's changing color, something is affecting it. In most cases, it is water. For example, if you see iron now, the only reason iron will rust is because it comes in contact with water. That's the same with most material. Even your wall, even your cement, once they come in contact with water, they change color. So once you see that your screening is changing color, most especially when you see that the color, the discoloration is on the lower side of your house or in a particular pattern, so know that it is water. It's probably water from your foundation that's affecting the wall, or water from your decking. Yes, most people don't know that in some cases decking can be soaked as well, and then you see pattern around the decking like this. So I've seen some cases like that. So, or water from your bathroom. In those cases, you can see one line like this on your wall, and it goes all the way down. That means a pipe goes all the way down, and maybe the pipe is leaking. So those are the things you need to take care of. So you need to block that water leakage source, and then maybe you rescreed the place if it is too soft. So you remove the screeding, rescreed the place, and then you prime and repaint the wall. Thank you to Anon. Thank you very much. So Anon says, I don't have any question, but I'm proud of you for your effort, and I hope one day you will be very successful. I will have to go now. All right. Thank you to Anon. I really appreciate you. I wish you the same. So Harriet also says, I can't watch because I need to cook, but this looks interesting. So Harriet, please send us our own food. Eh? Somebody cannot be here and be hungry, and somebody is cooking. Let's talk before the food we finish. So okay, we have some questions on Instagram now. If you send your question, don't worry, I will attend to it. I'll attend to it. Don't send it multiple times. Somebody is asking, what is the easiest and the cheapest way to prevent wall paint from peeling? The answer is there's no cheap way. As long as you see your wall peeling, otishugulowo, like Yoruba will say. So in most cases, you spend close to $1 million minimum. So that's what you use. Don't say, I'm trying to. When most people reach out to me and they be like, I don't have money to treat dampness, I will say, don't even go near it. Just leave that in there. Because if you say you want to maybe paddy, like Yoruba will say, you don't want to spend money, you end up spending more money, because you go and get some solution that it will not work even after 3 days in some cases. You start seeing those things again. But if you want to treat it properly, you need solutions like Costa 2K, Crystal Coat, or other damp-proof material. You use them on the wall, and then you replaster the place, and you'll be fine for a very long time. So there's no cheap way to treating dampness, honestly. I've not seen. Maybe tomorrow we can get a cheaper alternative. Okay, I think I've answered that question. Let's move on to the next question now. Let me check Facebook. Let's see if we have some questions on Facebook. Okay. Facebook people. Facebook is not showing. Hope we are even live on Facebook like this. This live streaming is not. The best thing is to just get multiple phones. Thank you to Tem Jen Sola. Thank you very much. Hi to you too. Somebody is asking, what will it cost to damp-proof a single room? This amount I'm going to mention is not stagnant. Let me just give you a range. It also depends on the type of damp-proof material you want to use, but you'll be spending between 700,000 naira to 1 million, to even in some cases 2 million for a room. That's why I tell you that damp-proofing is not a child's play. It costs money, even to 2 million naira for a single room, depending on the type of chemical and the extent you want it to last. So that is damp-proof for you. If you want to do it properly, it's very, very expensive. So thank you to Bob Moses. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you. Daddy Chris, thank you for joining on Instagram. So let's answer some more questions. So somebody's asking, here is how to get more job if you're a painter. You see, I've been looking for the opportunity to train painters on how to get more jobs. And when I see most painters that they are struggling to get job, I know they don't know the way. And the best way is to use social media. You see a lot of people are begging them to come and work for them. While on the other hand, you see some people that you see some people that are struggling to get even one customer in a month. And it's not that those people that are struggling to get one customer in a month, they don't know how to paint. In fact, some of them even know more than those that people are begging. That's the truth. But in this life, if people don't know you, if people have not seen your work once, they will not trust you. They will not call you for work. The reason why most people want Mr. Tokwe to come and paint their house for them is because they've seen my work. And it's not that I'm the best painter in the world. No, it's because I've shown my work and I've shown the process of how I do my work. That's why most people trust me. Yes, if you give us your projects, you are very sure of we handling it with the best professionalism and giving you the best touch to your house. But no, we are not the best painter in the world. But because people have seen our work, they trust us. And because we've shown people, we've done it over and over again, and we show people, people need proof now. Even if you want to buy something, you've not seen the proof, you've not seen anything the person has done before, you will not give the person the work. So as a painter, I usually tell the painter that work for me, post your work online. Even though I'm going to post it from my own end, post it as well. Say, okay, this is how we do this place. We realize that this color will not match here. We are now painting it with this color. Just show people, explain little things. You'll be surprised that even painters will start following you. They will start learning from you. So, but when you are in a situation where some people will be like, I've done it, many projects, thousands of projects, but where is it? We can't see it. We did not follow you there. You are the one that knows what you painted. The world does not see. So show the world what you've done. So, and it doesn't have to be too complicated. It can just be that you just do the video of the place you paint, the place you want to paint before you paint it, and then maybe while you are painting it, you just do small video at different step, and then you and then at the end of the day, you also do the video. You don't need to talk in the video. So when you get to your place, your house, your hostel, just put it on CapCut, put it on Edit. Edit is an app by Instagram. Put it there, it's free. Put it there, then remove the sound, and then put your own voice over. Okay, this is what we are doing here. Here we are painting. This is when we get to the site. This is what we met. This is how we do it. And within 1 hour, we were done. People, with that alone, people will start following you, and with time, you get better and better. I've been creating content for like 7 years, even more than 7 years now. But when most people see me, they be like, this guy just started yesterday. No be yesterday. I don't do this business for a long time. So it's not a single day that you get to Mr. Tokwe's level. Like, you start small, do it step by step, make one video today, 2 video, before you know it, you become very, very big. So that's how to make sure you get project consistently. Trust me, if you do it for 6 months, a year, it's people that will be begging you to come and work for them. And it does not stop with painting alone. Any work you do, show people. Thank God, God has blessed us with social media today. Tomorrow we might not have it. It might be too late. So make sure somebody said the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So plant today, start posting today. Tomorrow you will reap the benefits. So somebody says, what kind of paint do you use? We use any paints, emulsion mat, satin, weather mask, gloss. We use any paints depending on your choice of paints. Good afternoon, Tokwe. Daddy Chris, thank you very much. Good afternoon to you too. So let's go to the next question. Somebody is asking, is test coat paint expensive to use? The answer is no. An average test coat will cost between 25,000 to 30,000, depending on when you are watching this video. So, per bucket. And test coat is also an emulsion paint, so it lasts like maybe 1 to 3 years. Though I've seen some test coat paint that lasts up to 5 years. So depending. So it depends on the weather of the place. Yes, test coat is one of the cheapest paints you can use to paint your wall. But the only thing is that most people are now moving away from test coats or any textured paint. They are now going to matte, weather mask, emulsion, like ordinary emulsion paints instead of textured paint. Because test coat has stone, small stone in it, and in some cases it might allow reptiles to climb your wall and then maybe enter your house. Reptiles like a lizard that most people would not want to enter their house. So that's why people are moving away from test coats nowadays. But yes, test coat is still a good paint to use. Somebody is asking, must you prime your wall even if you want to use emulsion? The answer is yes. If you want that paint to last long on the wall, it's better to prime the wall, especially if it is a fresh wall. I repeat, especially if it is a fresh wall, yes, use a primer. Why? Because primer has a lot of advantage. One of it is that it will block the porosity of the wall, making sure that the paint you end up using is not much, like the wall will not consume too much paint. The other thing is that if there's stain on that wall, there's some primer that will help you block that stain on the wall so that you not see the stain again. The other thing is that it will allow your paint, whether it's emulsion or satin you want to later use, to stick properly to the wall so that the paints will not end up peeling in a very short time. So those are the advantage of using a primer. Whether you want to use emulsion, satin, or matte, use a primer. So if you have cracks on your wall, these are some things you need to do. The number one thing you need to do is to figure out the type of crack it is. If it is just ordinary crack on the wall, you can use a filler. But if it is a structural crack, you need to call a structural engineer to help you fix that. But let's talk about the simple one, the minor cracks. So you can use a filler to fill that place, or you use a mesh. There's something they call a mesh, just a mesh on that particular place, and then there's a way to do it. You can go on YouTube, you see the video of how they use mesh on cracks. So after that, you can then sandpaper the surface and then apply primer and then repaint your wall. But if it is a structural crack, like I said, get a structural engineer. So somebody is asking, can you use weather mask paint on satin? That is, you've already painted your wall with satin, now you want to change it to weather mask. Yeah, the answer is yes. So there are some things you can do to make sure it comes out very beautiful. Number one is you need to sandpaper the surface of the satin. Why? Because satin is glossy on the surface, it's very smooth, and you need to create a friction so that whatever it is you want to put on it will stick better. The other thing you can also do is to apply a primer on that particular wall. Yes, even though primer is good for fresh wall, yes, you can use it for existing wall, especially when you are changing from one paint to another or from one color to another. So you use a primer and then you paint your weather mask on that particular place so that it will last long. So that is the sequence. That's the best sequence to paint weather mask on satin. Somebody's asking, can matte paint be used for lime wash? The answer is yes. So if you go online, if you search online for lime wash, the basic lime wash is that design that people put on their wall that has different pattern. So it has different pattern, like a darker shade, a lighter shade. It's intermingled. So that's lime wash for you. So you can the one of the ways I've seen people do it is to get an emulsion paint, whether it is matte, whether matte or ordinary emulsion. Then they get two colors. One is the lighter color, the other one is the deeper color. And then there's a particular brush they use. They put it, they dip the brush has two edge like this one. So one we touch the lighter color, the other one we touch the deeper color. So then they use in X shape pattern on the wall. They use it to get the lime wash effect, on the wall. So yes, you can use matte, but the only paints you should not use is satin and gloss. Don't use those for lime wash. It will not come out well. So that Chris, I've answered this question previously. So whether matte paint is for walls that you did not want to do squidding, why matte paint is for wall that you've done the squidding. So that's the basic difference between the two. That's the basic difference between the two. And whether matte paint comes out very well compared to matte 170, and we are going to 230. Wow. So if you want to paint an old building, but they've previously done screening on that particular old building, you don't need to do screening again. So what you need to do in that particular situation is you can apply primer, like you sandpaper the old wall, apply primer, and then paint your new paints. So it will make the place come out even more beautiful, even though the place has been painted for, let's say, 20 years back. So that's what you need to do. Sandpaper the wall, apply a primer, and then you repaint. So it's the reason you are applying primer is that it will bond the paint properly to the wall. And since it's an old building, there's possibility of stain on the wall. So primer will help you block the stain, and then the painting will come out very, very nice. Somebody is asking, can you paint gloss paint on stamped concrete floor? The answer is no. Gloss paint is not meant for concrete floor. There are specific color. There are specific paints that are meant for concrete floor. So, for example, you can use epoxy paints, or there's another paint they call floor paints as well. So, those are the paints you use for concrete floor, concrete stamped floor. So why? Because gloss paint will not stick properly to the floor. It will peel with little scratch on it. It will quickly peel away. So that's gloss for you. Why gloss is not just meant for floor; it's meant for wall and iron. So instead of that, get epoxy or get normal floor paints to paint your floor. If you have paint splashes on your wall, these are some chemicals you can use to remove it properly without damaging your tiles. The number one chemical you can use is a thinner. So a thinner, you can use the normal thinner that they use to mix gloss paint. So just use it, put it on the floor, use it to wash it, use an handkerchief or something, a cloth to wipe it off so it will clean the place. So the other thing, chemical you can also use in some cases are all this cleaner, the floor cleaner, all this normal floor cleaner. Just wet the floor with it, and then before it dries off, just use mop stick or something to remove it. But if it is a stain that is very thick and is stubborn, you can apply those chemical and then find a scraper or something light to just lightly, like not ash scrubbing, just lightly scrub it, and then you will be able to remove it in most cases. You can also use petrol in some cases. Yes, some cases you can also use O4. There's something they call O4. So I think is it hydrogen, sorry, there's something they call O4. So once you use that O4, but that O4 is ash, like very, very strong. If you are not careful, it will spoil your tiles. So those are some things you can use to remove stain on your floor. These are some paints that will last long on your wall the most. At number one is matte paint. So matte paint is an emulsion paint that has a longevity of 5 to 7 years. In some cases, it can use more than that. The other paint you can also use is weather matte paint. Weather matte paint can also use the same 5 to 7 years, which is also very, very good, especially for the outside of your house. But if you want to paint the inside of your house, you need something that will last 5, 7, 10 years. Go for satin paint. So satin paint is that paint that you can easily clean, but it's the only thing is that you use it on the inside of your house, not the outside, because it will not last on the outside. But on the inside, you can use 5, 7, 10 years on the inside, satin paint. So these are the three paints: matte, weather matte, satin. The other paint you can also use is gloss paint. Gloss is a rugged paint, very, very rugged. If you go to some mosque, specifically mosque, you see that they've painted it for a very, very long time, and you see that it's shiny. In most cases, they use gloss paint, or in some industrial areas as well, they also use gloss paint. Gloss is very, very lasting, very stubborn. So it lasts for a very long time. So those are the paints you use if you want something that lasts very long. Let's answer this question. Can Tyrolean stop water? The answer is no. Tyrolean is just a decorative design on your wall. It does not have waterproof characteristics. Yes, the cement you put in Tyrolean can have some level, like some level of waterproofing, but it does not serve as waterproofing. So the best thing you can do is to waterproof the wall before you put Tyrolean on it. If you doubt me, go and check most walls that they do Tyrolean on. You will still see some water pattern on it. Yes, the peeling might not be as obvious as the peeling on the normal wall, but even Tyrolean itself, in some cases, you still see that it's peeling. It's peeling. Not that the paint you put on it, Tyrolean itself will peel in some cases. So the best thing is to waterproof the wall first before you put Tyrolean on it, and then it's just, you know, that it's just for decoration. So Tyrolean does not stop water from affecting your wall. What's the difference between semi-gloss and satin? The difference between the two is what we call the sheen. The sheen is the level of shining. The sheen is the level of shininess in a paint. For example, this is how the category goes. Emulsion paints, emulsion mats, weather mats, all those ones are emulsion paints. They have the lowest sheen level, that is the lowest shining level. The next stage is satin paints. So satin paints has a higher sheen, that is, it shines more than emulsion paints. The next level is semi-gloss, which is higher than satin paints. So it has a higher sheen than satin. Then the next level is gloss paints. So gloss paint also has higher sheen, that is, it shines more than semi-gloss. Semi-gloss. So the difference between satin and semi-gloss is in the shininess of the paint. Is in the shininess of the paints. So somebody's asking, can I paint satin outside after priming it with matte? The answer is no. Don't paint satin on the outside. Why? Because satin will not last on the outside. The other thing is that matte, instead of using matte to prime, use a normal primer. Matte paint or emulsion paint is not a primer. So get a primer. Primer has a lot of advantage, like helping you see the porous surface before you paint, making sure you end up consuming lesser paint. The other thing is that it will also block stain on your wall. So that's the work of a primer. So different advantage. Then it will also make the paints, the certain paints you want to put at the end of the day, to burn very well. But in all, don't use certain paints on the outside. But if you are Dangote, you can use certain paints on the outside. You know that you paint after 6 months or a year, because certain paints will lose its sheen on the outside easily, its shininess. It will not shine again. You hear satin paints everywhere, but how does satin paints look? So satin paints usually have a shiny sheen, that is, it shines and is a paint that is washable, that is, it's cleanable and it lasts long, especially for the interior. Satin paint, this is satin paint. It comes in different color: white, black, brown, yellow, any color you want. Dove gray, dark gray, light gray, blue, purple. You get satin paints there. It's washable, it has a sheen, like once you see it, it's shining and it's cleanable. So that is satin paint for you. So satin paint is good for your rooms, like your rooms or a place where there's too much traffic. There's a lot of traffic there. Maybe your lobby where people just touch, or in your school, the corridors, you can use satin there. Why? Because once the ant touches, you can easily clean it. So that is satin for you. Let's move to the next question. It says, how do you calculate the number of paints you need for a project? The simple answer is you can calculate that as a quantity surveyor or as a painter or even as a house owner. You can do that. Let me tell you how. Now, the first thing you need to do is to know the total square meter of the place. If you don't know how to do that, I have a video on how to calculate the total square meter of a place, or you go on YouTube, find how to measure it. Get the total square meter of the space. Let's say the space is 100 square meter. So 100 square meter. Then you also need to get the coverage of the paints. The coverage of the paints, usually, if you look at the back of any paint, in most cases, they write the coverage there. So let's say the coverage of the paint is 10 square meters, just for examples, for easy mathematics. So what you now do is that 100 square meter you get, you divide it by the coverage of the paint. That is the total. So the total square meter of the space divided by 10 will give you the quantity of paints you need. That means 100 divided by 10, that's 10. That's 10 liters. We give you the liters of paints you need. So that means for this particular space, you need 10 liters. But if you are painting it on double coats, that means you have to times that 10 liters times 2. That will mean 20 liters. Why now? Because why do we times this by 2? Because that 10 liters is for single coats, unless the manufacturer say is double coats. In most cases, if you see coverage is on single coats. So if you have single coats and it's going to cost you 10 liters, that means if you are painting it twice, you times it by 2. If you are going for 3 coats, you times it by 3. So that's 20 liters. So 20 liters is just one big bucket like this. So let's say you now get a value that is 30 liters. That means you can get this big one and small one, or you just get 2 big ones, because this one is 20 liters. So that's how to calculate the total number of buckets of paints you need for a particular project. But it can be stressful. That's why it's very important to get a painter or a quantity surveyor to do it for you. You are welcome, Daddy Chris. You are welcome. Somebody is asking, can I screed walls that are dusty? So before you screed a wall that is dusty, this is what you need to do. You need to apply a stabilizer, especially when the wall is choking. So when the wall is choking, you need a stabilizer to apply on that particular wall before you now screed. Why? Because a stabilizer will serve as a binder to bind. Somebody is saying, if you use spray, do you need to repaint your wall? I don't know what this person mean. Probably the person mean maybe when he was using normal spray and then the thing fall on his wall and there's stain on it. So if you have stain on it, you can just get small paint and retouch that particular place. The only problem you can have is when you are doing that, you might not be able to get the exact color you used to paint your house, which means you might need to paint the section of that wall again, or even the whole room in some cases, if the color is very far from what you have. Or you can be creative and say, okay, instead of painting the whole room with the same color, you can choose a different color from what you have and then use it to repaint that section of the wall. So people will just think it's a design that you intentionally use, not knowing that it's stain that was there. You just want to repaint that space. So somebody is asking, so after mold treatment, should you repaint your space? The answer is yes and no. Now, if you've treated your place with maybe the Atop mold defense kits, and then you see that there's still discoloration there, so what you need to do is to repaint the place. You repaint. You can use a primer if the discoloration is very strong. That's after you've treated the wall. You can apply a primer and then repaint. But if it's just minor discoloration, you can use normal paints. After you've treated the place with a top mode defense, you repaint the place and then your place will be fine. I've done this for a space and it's very, very cool. Like you will not see it come out again and the mode will vanish as long as you've treated the place with the mode defense system. So here's how to properly clean your dirty PVC ceiling. The best way to do is not to, the best chemical to use is just your normal soap, the dishwashing soap, or any soap that does not have strong chemical. You find warm water, you put, especially the dishwashing soap, just put it in warm water and then use it to clean that particular PVC. It will clean, but don't use very harsh chemical. If you use it might end up spoiling your PVC, changing the color or even reducing the strength, and then you have problem at the end of the day. So just use a dishwashing soap inside warm water and then use it to wipe that place clean. So somebody's asking, can Weatherman's paint be used on screeded wall? The answer is yes and yes. Why? Because Weatherman's paint, even though Weatherman's paint is a paint you use when you don't want to do screeding, but if you do screeding, oh my god, and you use Weatherman's, oh my god, you will love it. It's going to come out very, very beautiful, very sharp. You know, when people say it's sharp, yes, it's show. So it will come out very, very well, even more than what you get when you did not do screening. Weathermask is a beautiful paint. It's a paint that has a very like is a paint that does not comparable to any other paints, and it lasts long. So Weathermask, for your exterior wall, choose Weathermask paints. Somebody's asking, can I use gloss paint? Can I mix gloss paint with satin to make it shine? The answer is no. Why? Because gloss is an oil-based paint. Satin is a water-based paint. What will happen if you put oil inside water? The oil will separate at the top and the water will be below. That's what you get when you mix satin with gloss. So what you need to do instead is to maybe say you want to paint a particular place with gloss and the other place with satin, but satin already has a very good sheen. Or you go for semi-gloss. There are some paints, but it's not usually common in Nigeria. You go for semi-gloss, or satin is very, very good, and especially when you've done your screening. Screening will also make the sheen come out better. Somebody is saying, can I pre-paint a fence before I now use Weathermask paint? The answer is yes. Now, one thing most people usually do to reduce the cost of painting is they use a lower grade paint for the first coat and then a higher grade paint for the second coat, both sometimes of the same color or of different color. What do I mean? Like, for example, you want to paint a house and you know that you're going to be using 10 Weathermasks, but you don't have the money for 10 Weathermasks. You can say, okay, let me get 5 Weathermasks and then I get the rest as ordinary emulsion. Why? Because Weathermask is more expensive, like 5 times 5 of what we sell ordinary emulsion. You can say, okay, you paint the wall with emulsion first for the first coat and then you paint the second coat with Weathermask. That way you reduce the cost, but it's better to use Weathermask for the first coat and the second coat. But if we use Weathermask for the second coat and emulsion for the first coat, it's still going to come out very well. Must your wall be plastered before you use Tyrolean? The answer is yes. You need to plaster your wall before you use Tyrolean. You know, I've been seeing a lot of situations where people did not plaster the wall on ordinary block and then they put Tyrolean. In 100% of those cases, you will see that the line on the block, you know, when the plaster when they lay blocks, you see some line. The line is still showing even after they put a lot of layers of Tyrolean on the wall. Why? Because Tyrolean is not meant for that. Is only a decorative design, so it's not meant to be used as a plaster. So you need, even though it's light plastering you do before you now put your Tyrolean on it, so do the plastering first before you put Tyrolean on it. So it will save you from story that touch. If you are painting 4 to 5 coats of paint on your wall, you are damaging your wall. Let's say, for what do I mean? Like, you paint the first coat, they paint your wall first time, you say it's not good. Second time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time. What will happen in that particular case is, in some cases, is that particular wall can end up cracking. Why? Because too thick layer of paints will end up cracking, especially when the layer below did not dry before they put the layer above it. So it will, like, they will dry at different rates and then they will cause cracking on your wall. The other thing is it can also trap moisture. Instead of moisture to be like, most paint has breathable surface that water can still escape from the wall. But once you put those layers, it will trap moisture and then your paint will start peeling. So two, three, maximum of three coats. Even three coats in some cases is not necessary. Two coats for your wall, that is, they paint it once, then they paint it the second time, is okay for most walls. So don't, let's say, oh, I want 4, 5, 6, 7 coats. No, it does not has any advantage. The only thing it has is disadvantage. So somebody is asking, can you use Cosa 2K and all these crystal coats to fight a moldy wall? The answer is yes. But why? Because what is causing that mold is because of moisture. And once you stop that moisture, you should not have the issue of mold again. So what you need to do is to remove the plaster, apply Cosa 2K and crystal coat on the wall, and then you replaster the place again, and then you repaint. So you rescreed, apply primer, and then you repaint. So that way the mold will not come back. Because why? Because you fix the underlying cause. The water that's touching the paint outside, that's making it remove mold, you have block it. So that way you have solved the problem of the mold. So somebody is asking, can I test Weathermass paint on unscreeded wall? The answer is yes. In fact, Weathermass is good for unscreeded wall as long as the plastering on that place is smooth. Go for Weathermass. Like when they do your plastering is smooth and uniform, go for Weathermass. Why? Because it will make the place look beautiful and it will end up saving you costs. So you can buy one bucket to test it and see how it looks before you commit. So that's how to do. For any painting projects you have, if you're not sure of the paint, just get one bucket, test it in a small space, and then look at how it looks. If it's something you like, you can go for it. Okay. Somebody is asking, can you paint emulsion first on Tyrolean and then paint matte on it? The answer is yes. So most people usually do this to save cost. Why? Because Tyrolean is a particular design that consumes a lot of paint. Yes. So if you use Tyrolean design on your wall and you want to paint it, yeah, you just keep sucking the paint like this. You be where you coat 5 buckets before, you see that 5 buckets, like you don't have paint left. So what most people usually do is they will paint the place with emulsion. Why? Because emulsion is cheaper, and then for the finish coat they will now use matte or Weathermass paint on it. That is also fine. You can do that. It's very good. So so somebody is asking, cement screening for interior, or is cement screening good for interior or exterior? The answer is cement screening is good for exterior, but it does not mean you cannot use it for interior. So, but the reason most people go for POP screed over cement screed is that POP screed usually look smoother for interior, though it's not as strong as cement screed. So cement screed is stronger than POP screed. But what people now use nowadays is called putty screed. We sell putty screed. We have robusto screed that you can use. It's very strong for both inside and outside. So, and the other reason why people don't want to use cement screed is that it can cause alkali attack, especially when you did not use a primer an alkali resisting primer before you now paint. Anything cement will attack your paint in most cases, and then you see all this whitish stuff, like all this whitish pattern on your wall when you, after you finish painting. That's called alkali attack. So that's why most people are running away from cement screed nowadays. But it's still something that's very strong, especially when you use an alkali resisting primer after you are done with the screeding before you paint. Okay, I think let's check whether we have some questions before we call it a day on this particular live. We've spent a lot of time. Thank you to everybody who has been joining. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. I think I gotta see you another day. See you another day. See you another day. 10%. Wow. Okay. Hello. Okay. Okay. Let's end the stream.